This week on Africa Update. From China to Russia, Turkey to United Arab Emirates, and now the United States of America, global powers seek to strengthen ties with Africa as the continent becomes a major factor in future of global market. What is U.S. President Joe Biden offering Africa after 4 years of Trump's America First policy? We focus on the U.S.-Africa Summit to bring answers. Also on the program, we will take a look at how a Kenyan-based non-profit transfer computer skills to children. We'll also feature a female freestyle footballer, now a viral sensation on TikTok and the World Cup stage. This is Africa Update on Trust TV, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Welcome to the program. I am Ayuba Ilya. President Joe Biden has signed an agreement aimed at bolstering trade ties between the United States and Africa after years in which the continent took a backseat to other U.S. priorities as China made inroads with investments and trade. Biden said a new agreement with the African Continental Free Trade Area will give American companies access to 1.3 billion people and a market valued at $3.4 trillion. He listed companies that had made deals at the summit, including General Electric and Cisco Systems. The summit is the first of its kind since one in 2014 under President Barack Obama, himself the son of an African father. To kick it off, the Biden administration has pledged $55 billion for food security, climate change, trade partnerships, and other issues. Reports say that Biden also looks to back the African Union's admission as a permanent member of the group of 20 major economies during summit events. Before the dinner, Biden met leaders from Gabon, Liberia, and others facing 2023 elections for a discussion on elections and democratic principles. Take a look.
An historic memorandum of understanding with the new African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. This MOU will unlock new opportunities for trade and investment between our countries and bring Africa and the United States even closer than ever. This is an enormous opportunity for Africa's future, and the United States wants to help make those opportunities real. Second, we're investing to facilitate greater regional trade within Africa, including by investing in infrastructure. Today, the Millennium Challenge Corporation signed its first ever regional transport compact with the governments of Benin and Niger. This compact will invest $500 million to build and maintain roads, put in place policies that reduce transportation costs, making it easier and faster for ships to ship goods from the port of Cotonou to neighboring landlocked countries. The bottom line is simple. Trade runs on reliable infrastructure to support and secure resilient supply chains. And improving Africa's infrastructure is essential to our vision of building a stronger global economy that can better withstand the kinds of shocks that we've seen in the past few years. Third, we're continuing to support innovation and entrepreneurship across Africa, investing in Africa's people. Developing human capital alongside physical infrastructure is another core aspect of the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. Today, I'm announcing that the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is investing nearly $370 million in new projects, $100 million to increase the reliable, clean energy for millions of people in sub-Saharan Africa, $20 million to provide financing for fertilizer to help smallholder farmers, particularly women farmers, increase the yields of their crops, $10 million to support small and medium-sized enterprises that help bring clean drinking water to communities all across the continent, just to name a few examples. And we also know that one of the most essential resources of any entrepreneur or small business owner who wants to participate in the global economy is reliable and affordable access to the internet. So today, I'm announcing a new initiative, the Digital Transformation with Africa, working with Congress to invest $350 billion to facilitate more than almost $500 million in financing to make sure people across Africa can participate in the digital economy.
All right, now here is what the White House has said so far about the $55 billion budgeted for health, climate change issues on the continent of Africa. The Biden-Harris administration has invested and committed to provide nearly $20 billion in health programs in the Africa region. That includes $11.5 billion to address HIV and AIDS, more than $2 billion to combat malaria, more than $2 billion in support of family planning and reproductive health, and more than $2 billion to address the health, humanitarian, and economic impacts of COVID-19. The administration also plans to ask Congress for $4 billion for healthcare workers in Africa, investing $1.33 billion annually from 2022 to 2024. On climate change, since January 2021, the administration has invested and plans to provide at least $1.1 billion to support African-led efforts to support conservation, climate adaptation, and energy transitions. These funds include U.S. International Development Finance Corporation investments into Malawi's Golomoti JCM Solar Corporation and a climate action infrastructure facility. All right, now to talk to us about the takeaways from the U.S.-Africa Summit, we have joining us Ignatius Anor. He joins me from Washington, D.C. He's a reporter of The Voice of America. He joins us to give more insight on the U.S.-Africa Summit. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update, Ignatius.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Anita. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. Now, can you talk to us about what's different about the U.S.-Africa Summit this time around from, compared to back when it happened in 2014?
On the agenda, only from the United States, the African Union to ensure that we're on table questions here and the deals that are signed essentially the back end of the Agenda 2063 as contained in the African Union Charter. And that's why the AU chairperson, Moussa Faki Mahamat, joined 29 invitees to this particular summit. What is also different is that for the first time in August, when Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited South Africa, he launched what is called the US-Africa strategy. And he's been very particular about what the strategy is all about. It is a partnership between partners in Africa and the United States. So it's a deep partnership and collaboration that the U.S. seeks to deepen with its counterpart on the continent.
All right. Basically, from the speech that Joe Biden gave yesterday, he talked about this MOU with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Can you talk to us about that? What does it entail, actually?
Was signed between the African Continental Free Trade Area and the U.S. government. Essentially, it's supposed to boost trade between both countries. Secretary of State yesterday at the U.S.-Africa Business Forum about of $80 billion that over the years have been realized as far as business is concerned from the U.S. into Africa. And the free trade area agreement that was signed is supposed to be to increase trade between both continents, ensure that the businesses that would be done would inure to the benefits of not only folks in Africa, but back here in the U.S. as well.
So how exactly is the U.S. supposed to be benefiting from this, MOU with the AFCFTA?
So when it comes and services, the U.S. is a powerhouse when it comes to the manufacturing of equipment and other vital needs that we use in our daily lives. And it's also a big partner to the African continent as far as trade is concerned. Last years, I would say, however, that officials have regretted that those exports have decreased, and that's why this partnership is supposed to strengthen, trade relations and investment opportunities that exists, and that which the Biden administration is seeking to deepen. So essentially, it's making sure that there's more flow of foreign direct investments onto the continent, which will ultimately impact on consumers on the continent.
All right. Now, I'm wondering how in tandem are these, proposals with the current realities on the African continent when you look at some of the challenges that the continent is dealing with right now?
And some of the heads of states and delegation are the things he talked about is that the administration is listening to the concern. That's something that he's been very keen on emphasizing, that everything that is happening right now at the summit, challenges that the African continent, food insecurity, rising cost of living on the continent, the climate crisis. We've seen the devastating floods that occurred in Nigeria a couple of weeks ago, impact it had on people. Not only that, we've also seen other parts of Africa, particularly in East Africa, and in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, for example, and Somalia. And that's why part of the conversations that are going on here is how to help the African continent in the long term meet its food needs. Part of the 15 billion extra resources that was made yesterday, due to deals that were signed, would also to support agriculture on the continent. So tackling food insecurity is crucial, and also helping deepen its moves on the digital economy. You know that a recent survey has indicated that by 2050, more than half of Africa's population will be young people. And these young people are using the power of the internet to shape the everyday lives of people on the continent. So these were the kind of issues that come up. The fact that monies have been gathered to ensure of infrastructure that would deepen the digital economy on the continent, provisions for clean water, the transition just energy. Yesterday at one of the plenary session, an MOU was signed between the DR Congo, which is a cobalt producing country, produces about 70% of the world's cobalt resources, and also as well, which is the largest producer of the second cobalt producing country in Africa, to ensure that mining is done properly. They've launched what they call the electronic vehicle value added chain that would boost batteries for electric vehicles moving forward to tackle the effect of a carbon emission and the climate crisis that global leaders and activists are keen on combating.
All right. Now, the U.S. president was also expected to give his endorsement of Africa's membership of the G20. What about that? What's the update on that?
So in the lead up to the summit, there was a statement that was issued by the National Security Advisor, Sullivan, and one of the key points in that statement is a proposed mentioning or support of the U.S. in to have a seat at the table of G20, the wealthiest countries bloc that make key and essential projects and initiatives for the world. Yesterday, during his closing, Biden did not mention that at all, but you do know that this is the last day of the events. There are other sessions that are ongoing. As I speak to you, there's a final press conference that will be happening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. So there is no update on that as I see, but as and when something official is announced on that, you will be sure to be updated on your network from the VOA.
All right. Are there conditions for benefiting from some of these proposals put forward by the U.S. as far as this summit is concerned?
you come again, please, Ayuba? I didn't hear
Yes,
that.
talking about some of the conditions attached to the to benefiting from some of these proposals put forward by the United States. Are there conditions for African countries to meet, requirements for them to meet to be able to benefit from some of the monies that have been set aside for the investments here?
So in a statement that was issued by Sullivan just in the lead up to the summit, which I talked to you about, he indeed said no conditionalities are attached. These support and its relationship. Essentially, they're calling it an economic partnership of the country. So I can confirm to you that there are no conditionalities attached, according to U.S. officials.
How integrated is the African diaspora in this whole plan? Are there talks about what role that the African diaspora will be playing?
They are indeed, and that's why 2 days ago, an executive order was issued by President Joe Biden that establishes the African Diaspora and African Immigration Council. It would be, it will consist of members not more than 12, and they would not be appointed based on any political affiliation. It would be run by the Defense Secretary. They would have terms to serve. It will not be remunerated as they contribute to enhance, the development of the U.S. and relations with the continent. And according to that executive as well, individuals would be appointed from the academia, from sport, from the creative arts, from government and faith-based organization. It is to essentially demonstrate the contributions of the American and also African immigrant community in the United States. And officials have been keen on celebrating the contributions of African American community and indeed the African immigrant community in this country. And yesterday, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, did even humorously mention that, the country was going to miss comedian Trevor Noah. Daily Show.
All right. Okay. Well, what can you tell us about the reactions of some of the African leaders attending this U.S.-Africa summit? Perhaps if you have by chance spoken to a couple, what's the reaction like to some of the proposals and some of the briefs?
Although they are excited, they are also hoping that a lot of action will be put behind, these deals that have been signed. Remember that the African continent also has other partnerships with world leaders outside of the United States, and periodically they engage in these summits to propel their relationship. And so, from Africa that has said this will not be a one-off thing. It's the second time that this leader summit is happening after it was launched under President Barack Obama in 2014. There's been 8 years or more for the second one to be underway. So the voices and the concerns coming from the continent is we're hoping this will not be a one-off thing, and this would be something that will be institutionalized. It is a commitment that the U.S. officials have confirmed. Reasons the government is saying we are even instituting a special the ideas that are born out of this conference become a reality and they do not end up on the shelf. So Africans are hopeful, excited that this is happening, but also a one-off thing and that it will continue. Something the partners have also committed themselves to. One of the conversations that it's happening around here is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, be expiring in 2020. The press briefing that was held by the Deputy Secretary for Commerce, and he said that the working with Congress because that particular act is Congress. He says the administration is working with Congress to see the future of that as that comes to an expiration date in 2025.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ignatius Ano, reporter, Voice of America, joining us from Washington for an update on the U.S.-Africa Summit. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update. All right, this is Africa Update on Trust Television, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at how a Kenyan-based non-profit transfer computer skills to children. Join us again. All right, now moving on. Nelly Cheboy's Tech Lead Africa is working to empower rural children with a highly transferable skill, computer literacy, and her Kenyan-based nonprofit collects old laptops from institutions and companies to refurbish and teach school children in remote communities IT and coding skills. Take a look.
So we collect computer donations from companies and institutions. We import them into Kenya. We have a refurbishment center here where we wipe the computers, install our own custom operating system, and then we deploy into schools. We also partner with youth in the community that we train to run our classes. So our classes are part of the school curriculum. Our teachers are doing classes from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and the kids are learning this every day as part of their curriculum.
In this class, I've been taught how to use Visual Studio Code to make my own website using HTML and CSS. Then I've been taught about OpenShot and about NASA to make my own rocket when I grow up. So I hope this class will help me in my future to be an IT expert.
I've been teaching kids how to develop websites and how they can add some goodies on their website like CSS, images, videos, and audios. This is something that will help kids know how they can brand themselves online and how they can do business online, because that's where the world is heading.
Most of these students would not have used a computer because we're targeting the most remote parts of Africa. And so right now we have students who don't even speak Swahili yet, knowing how to use a computer, building websites. And the coolest part is that they can still do that in their own village. They don't have to go to Nairobi to do that. They don't have to go to America to do that.
Well, quite inspiring there. Now, a freestyle footballer has become a viral sensation on TikTok and the World Cup stage. Memi Asghari, an Iranian woman from Denmark, has some outstanding football skills. VOA's Ikopo Luzi spoke with the talented performer who is in Qatar for the global tournament.
The World Cup in Qatar is not just a football tournament. It's a cultural event full of people from different countries and backgrounds. Memi Asghari is one of them, an Iranian football freestyler from Denmark who traveled to Qatar not only to see the matches, but also to show off her skills. The 24-year-old wears a hijab, something she says is important to her. At the same time, she is challenging perceptions about what it means to be Muslim and a female athlete.
Don't change yourself, but change the game. And it's so important. I grew up in a country where I'm a minority. Most of my teammates were Danish. It doesn't mean I have to, ethnic Danish. It doesn't mean I have to change my looks and color my hair blonde to look like them. I can change the game so I can fit in it.
Asghari has been passionate about football since she was a child. Her fancy footwork and acrobatics have attracted plenty of online attention. She has almost 500,000 followers on TikTok. Her videos have gotten millions of views and likes. Her popularity on social media led World Cup organizers to invite her to Qatar, where she has been performing on the streets of Doha for fans. She says her online fame takes some getting used to.
I need to get used to it. Like, I don't know. I don't even have the words to explain it. It's a weird feeling, but I like it.
As Gary hopes what she accomplished will help dispel stereotypes about Muslim women.
It was difficult for me, being alone, feeling like nobody understands me, and now could make the path for the next generation, or even be out talking so the younger girls feel like, oh, there's somebody who knows the pain we have been through, and if she could make it, I can make it. And it just makes me happy that I can be one of these examples for the next generation of kids.
Despite the challenges, Asghari's focus and dedication has allowed her to succeed, says her friend Dalia Dirawi.
I think she deserves it because she works so hard for it. Like, I remember when we were small, she was training every day in front of our apartments.
Asghari has already met several football stars, but she dreams of challenging some players to a match.
I think first of them is Ronaldinho, because he's like, he's the legend of the tricks and all the kind of, yeah. And then probably Neymar, he's awesome too, but he's younger than Ronaldinho. I watched more Ronaldinho as a kid than I did watching Neymar. And then probably Cristiano Ronaldo. I love his confidence.
Asghari's message is clear. No matter a person's race, gender or religion, anyone can play football and enjoy it. Jacopo Luzzi, VOA News, Doha.
Indeed, the gender or race doesn't really count. Now, we'll take a look at Roundup Africa, a highlight of some of the biggest stories from across the continent with Chiamaka.
The bodies of 27 migrants believed to have died of thirst have been found in the Chadian desert. According to reports by UN Migration Agency on Tuesday, the migrants reportedly left Mosoro, a crossroads town in west-central Chad, 17 months ago in a pickup truck. It is believed the truck got lost in the deep desert, broke down due to mechanical issues, and the migrants died of thirst. Chad, at the crossroads of North and Central Africa, currently hosts about 300,000 refugees in 17 refugee camps and 160,000 internally displaced persons in the eastern and southern parts of the country. The forced migration has been caused mainly by conflict and general insecurity in Western Sudan, Eastern Chad, and parts of the Central African Republic. According to the International Organization of Migration, food insecurity, failed harvest, and inconsistent rains have impacted migration patterns. Sudan has signed a $6 billion agreement with a consortium led by the United Arab Emirates, AD Ports Group, and Invictus Investment to develop a new port and economic zone in the Red Sea. The Abu Amama port, which will be built north of the Port Sudan port, through which almost all of the country's imports and South Sudan's oil exports pass, will include an industrial zone, an international airport, and an agricultural zone covering more than 400,000 acres. AD Ports Group is majority owned by ADQ, an Abu Dhabi sovereign wealth fund, while Invictus Investments is headed by Osama Dawood Abdulatif, head of the Dal Group, Sudan's largest conglomerate.
And that wraps up Africa Update for this week. In case you've missed, you can always catch up across all our social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. I am Ayuba Ilia. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.